Hi, everyone.
John and Jackie Matthews here with AdventureWeights World Travel. Thank you so much for giving us your time this evening. We have an exciting adventure for 2022 to tell you about, and we just really appreciate your time. But before we started, we thought we'd tell you just a little bit about ourselves. John and I have been married for 37 years. We have 4 adult children and now 2 grandsons that are just our life. We just adore them. If someone had told me that being a grandmother was so awesome, I would have done that first. But we love our family, and we've spent our entire life since we were children traveling. Both of our parents thought that travel was a really important part of our education. And so John and I have both been traveling literally since we were little kids. I think I did my first international trip as a grade schooler and my first cruise at 14. And you guys, you traveled a lot.
We did. And my first international trip was also at 14 to France and Paris, as a matter of fact.
Oh, very cool.
So we've been traveling for 50 years, 57 countries on 6 continents and counting. And we just love to travel and love to use our travel experience to plan amazing vacations for busy people like you. And we'd love to have you join us on this amazing adventure.
So as we mentioned, we've raised our family and we had the serious jobs. John was with Boeing for over 20 years and I was a school teacher. And once we got our kids launched, we decided it was time to retire early and do something fun. So now we own our own travel agency and we send people on fabulous vacations. I always tell people we don't do cheap, we do fabulous. And part of what we do every year is we'll do 3 or 4 hosted tours. And that's what we're talking about tonight, where we'll take small groups of people with us on wonderful adventures. The idea is you get to come and relax and have a fabulous time. We handle all the details, we handle all the headaches, and you just get to have a great time. We keep our groups pretty small. We're all pretty much kind of in the same age group. We all have, raised our families and we're active people who love to see the world and it's our time. So if you want to join us, we would love to have you be with us. We thought we'd start this evening with a really beautiful 1-minute video. So sit back and relax and watch this gorgeous video.
It just looks amazing, doesn't it? I can't wait.
Oh my goodness, I can't wait either. April can't come soon enough. Oh my goodness, it's so fun.
Yeah. So we love ocean cruising. We've done it several times and we have several more that we're planning this year and next year.
Yep.
But river cruising is different. The saying goes that ocean cruising takes you to countries and river cruising takes you through countries. And it's absolutely true. We've done several river cruises and they're just fabulous. And this one on the Seine River will take us through the countryside in France. So you see all the beautiful countryside. We stop in all the towns and cities along the way, and you get a much closer view of the countryside and the people and the culture and the experiences. So it's just wonderful. And the ships are also much smaller. And why AmaWaterways? They've won numerous awards, including the Berlitz Award for the highest rated cruise ships in Europe. And they have fabulous service and delicious food, as you could see from the video. They also have up to 6 choices of excursions that are included in each port, and they're in small groups. So you're not in groups of hundreds of people, you're in small groups of 20 or so. They also have award-winning cuisine, and the chef's table, which they have on board every ship, is included. They have beer and wine at each meal that's included as well. And they have a complimentary sip and sail cocktail hour every night, as well as complimentary Wi-Fi. So it's an inclusive experience. So when you're considering joining us, remember that AmaWaterways is inclusive. So when you're comparing it to an ocean cruise, where a lot of the ocean cruise lines give you a low fare to get you on board the ship and then charge you for Wi-Fi and excursions and beverages and everything else.
And specialty dining and yeah.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. This is inclusive. So compare the total price of your ocean cruise to what it would cost to join us on AmaWaterways. And this cruise is a wine cruise. So in addition to everything else, this is included for free. So we will have an onboard wine host or sommeliers that will do complimentary onboard wine tastings from wines in the region. And since we're on the Seine, we'll be going through the Champagne region.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to trying all those French champagnes. They also do additional optional tours and excursions that are led by the wine host at premier vineyards and wine cellars. And they do complimentary wine pairings at meals to help us choose the right wine for the delicious food that they have on board.
Imagine this. You get off the ship and just walk into the little village, and we go to a wine cellar and vineyards that have been there for literally hundreds of years. In the United States, everything is still really new here. If something is 100 years old, we put a big sign on it and a velvet rope around it. But in Europe, things are hundreds or thousands of years old. And we'll be going to some of those premier vineyards and wine cellars that are hundreds or thousands of years old. For example, the Greeks were the ones who brought the first vines to Paris or to France and started the first vineyards 600 years before Christ was born. 600 years. Then, fast forward a few hundred years later, the Romans show up, the Romans take over. They go, hey, this looks pretty cool. They took over. They've got their own vineyards. They're taking it to the next level. And just a little fun fact, all the Roman legion soldiers, each one of them got a provision of 2 liters of wine every day in their food allotment. I really don't know how they could eat their baguette, eat their cheese, drink their wine, and then go and fight. So I would be kind of under a tree taken in that. But anyway, that's a little fun fact there.
Yeah, it's great. And if you don't like wine or not a drinker, that's fine too. You don't have to participate. They have a wealth of other opportunities and experiences for you to enjoy. So if you like wine, this is a great additional benefit that costs nothing. And if you don't, that's okay too. We will be sailing on the Amadante, which, as with all other ships, is a floating boutique hotel. They're beautiful ships, and as you can see, they're much smaller than ocean-going cruise ships. So the Amadante has a maximum of 144 guests on board in 72 staterooms on 3 decks. All the staterooms have windows, and most of them have French balconies. They also have a 4th deck on the top, the sun deck, which has an exercise track and a hot tub or spa. They also, as well as down below deck, they have a fitness room and a spa as well. So it's a beautiful ship. And as you can see, and as Jackie mentioned, the ships, because they're small and we're on a river, they usually dock right in the center of the city. So you can just get off the ship and within minutes be in the city and exploring and sightseeing. So it's just
fantastic. Wonderful. It's gorgeous.
Here's an overview of our journey. You can see that we start in Paris, and we will plan to leave the United States on March 31st, arrive in Paris on April 1st, the day before the cruise departs. We always arrive the day before just in case there's an issue with flights or whatever, and that way you'll get an extra day of sightseeing in Paris. So when you arrive in Paris at the airport, we'll have someone waiting there for you to give you a private transfer to our 4-star hotel in Paris. You'll have a free day to do sightseeing and enjoy Paris however you'd like. And then the next morning, breakfast is included, and we'll have another transfer to take us to the ship where we'll embark on the beautiful Amadante for our 7-night voyage down the Seine River, which will end in Le Havre. And Jackie and I are planning to continue our voyage beyond that for the 4-night land extension with AmaWaterways that you can see there, leaving Le Havre and going down through Fourvière and to Saint Malo, where we'll spend 3 nights in Saint Malo. And then on the 4th night, come back to Paris for a night at a hotel near the airport. So just a wonderful voyage. And this Itinerary is perfect for people who love Paris in the spring. French food and wine, history, including the D-Day battlefields and beaches in Normandy, art lovers, and people that love architecture and historic buildings, chateaus, castles, and gardens, of course. There's so many beautiful gardens in France. And we will start our journey in Paris.
Oh, Paris, the city of lights. Don't you just love the art, the culture, the outdoor cafes, the Louvre, the Eiffel Tower, the gardens, the history, the food, just like John mentioned. I mean, Paris is Paris. What can you say? I love what Audrey Hepburn said in the movie Sabrina. Paris is always a good idea. And it is. So we board our ship, and day one, we'll start with a panoramic tour of Paris. We'll go to the Latin Quarter, where the famous Sorbonne University is. We'll visit the stunning 400-year-old Luxembourg Gardens. Henry IV's widow created those gardens. 400 years old. How many times have you spent time in a garden that's 400 years old? Of course, we'll go to the Champs-Élysées. Of course, we'll spend some time in those beautiful sidewalk cafes. And ladies, those of you who just need a trip to the mothership, the Louis Vuitton store, of course, right there in downtown Paris, we might have to do that. And you know what? I'm so nice. I'll make sure that you get there. John and I were in Paris. The last time we were in Paris was in fall. We always like to go in the fall or in the spring. Summer in Paris is hot and kind of muggy and super crowded. So we always go off season. April is a fantastic time to come. The weather is getting better, but the crowds haven't shown up yet. But anyway, the last time we went, it was in the fall. And we spent the morning in the Louvre, and then we walked through the outdoor gardens that are right there. And then we meandered over, just, walked through the city and walked down the Champs-Élysées, got tired, decided to sit and have a little afternoon drink in a cafe, just right along as we're looking at the Arc de Triomphe and just kind of just being in Paris, right? You don't even need to do anything. You can just sit there and enjoy a drink and look at the view. Well, lo and behold, all of a sudden they started closing the street around us and blocking everything else, and no one could come in, and no traffic was coming in. So that was even more beautiful. It was like this quiet afternoon in the fall in Paris. And next thing you know, the Republican Guard, the French honor guard, in their full regalia on horseback, like six to 10 horses across, and rows and rows of them come marching right down the Champs-Élysées, right next to us. I mean, we could almost touch one of the horses. It was so exciting. Like, what is going on? And then they came through, and then comes through this fabulous motorcade, and there's guys running alongside the car, so there's like somebody important in there. Well, turns out that the president of Lebanon was there to place a wreath at the base of the Arc. So there's always something exciting happening in Paris, and you don't even need to be doing something. You can just sit in a cafe and have a fantastic experience. But we, of course, will go to the Arc de Triomphe, and we'll, of course, go to the Eiffel Tower. And that can be a great place to take your Christmas card photo with your own camera, or they have lots of photographers there. And these photographers are awesome. They know exactly the right angle and the right lighting and the right setting and everything to get just that gorgeous picture. But you're going to get a lot of fabulous pictures on this trip. I guarantee it. So that's just day one.
All right. Paris in April is amazing. So the next day we go to, there we go, Mont-la-Jolie. And it's a beautiful city that was founded in the Middle Ages.
Wow.
And you can enjoy a city tour, including the Gothic Notre Dame de Mont, which you can see here, the cathedral, or take a bike tour of the city, or you can visit Chateau d'Annay, a Renaissance chateau built in the 16th century. And so this just gives you an idea of the variety of things you have to choose from for excursions on AmaWaterways.
And just a reminder, John brought out a good point. Every single day, there's going to be a minimum of 3 and more likely 4 to 5 different tours you can do that day. And you can do something super active, like a bike tour. You can do something pretty mellow, because they'll always have one that's a more mellow for people who maybe mobility is an issue or strength is an issue. They always have one fantastic option for people who'd rather, kind of ride around and see things. But they have stuff for the super active. They even have something for people who like to sleep late. So if you're coming on this vacation and you're tired and you say, Jackie, you know what, I want to sleep in because I have to get up for work every morning super early. They even have an excursion every single day that starts late, and it's called for the late risers. So they really have something for everybody, and it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. So later in the day, we'll do a scenic cruise down the river to La Roche-Guyon. And here you can see the Chateau de La Roche-Guyon, which we will get to see too. So just amazing, beautiful sights all along the river. The next day, we arrive in Vernon, France, where you get to see Giverny.
Oh, you know this picture. You know it. It's world famous. We will visit Claude Monet's magnificent gardens in his former home in Giverny. He, of course, was called the father of Impressionism. You know these pictures, the gorgeous water lilies, the Japanese bridges, the graceful willow trees. It is a feast for the eyes. He moved his family from Paris to this beautiful little village in 1883, and he spent several years creating these gardens. These were his inspiration, and that was going to be his painting for the rest of his life. He spent 40 years painting these gardens in different lighting, in different seasons. It's spectacular. So when you go there, you're going to walk through his gardens. Now, they say that if you want to buy one of Monet's water lily paintings, that they currently sell for upwards of $80 million. Okay, so we're not going to do that, but you can walk the grounds. And what's really cool too is after you've walked the grounds, and he's like, I've seen this in the books and I've seen this in museums, and now I'm here. You get to go inside and see his house. And they say that his house, every single room has a theme and a color theme, and just tons of meaningful things inside each room of his house. So going through his house is an architecture's and an artist's dream. So this is going to be a fantastic experience. But if you go, you know what, been there, done that, or I'm not really into art, you could choose another option for that day. You could go to the Chateau de Brézy, which is called the Brazil of Normandy, or the Versailles of Normandy, sorry. Think about the majestic courtyards, the gorgeous furnishings, those French parks, the fountains, the waterfalls, the water jets, the Baroque splendor of the 18th century France. When we're there, we'll see all of that. We'll do tastings of the Normandy celebrated apple ciders. Yes, plural. There's a bunch of them. I've not tried them all. I'm very excited to do that. And we'll also try the Norman cheese. So yes, cheese, love cheese. I love everything about cheese. If neither of those sound appealing to you, you can grab a bike that are free on board, and you can do a guided bike tour through Vernon, that gorgeous French town. It is extremely beautifully preserved. The streets are full of half-timbered homes, historic chateau, and the countryside that was immortalized by Claude Monet. So you'll be riding your bike through this little village and thinking, I've seen this someplace. Yeah, you've seen it in his paintings, and now you're there.
Oh, amazing. Next, we come to Rouen, France, which is the capital of the Normandy region and formerly one of the largest and most prosperous cities in medieval Europe. You can enjoy a walking tour of the city where you get to see their Cathedral of Notre Dame, or the great clock that you can see there on the right. Or you can do a Taste of Normandy tour where you can enjoy chocolate, macaron, cheese, and cider, which sounds delicious.
I will be sampling the chocolates. That will be me.
Later in the day, we'll continue on to Caudebec-en-Caux, which is another beautiful city. And from there, the next day, we'll be able to visit Bayeux and see the famous tapestry depicting the Norman invasion of England in 1066.
Oh, right.
Yeah, followed by Caen, where you can see the Chateau de Caen, which is an 11th century castle built by William the Conqueror. Or you can go to Le Bec-Hellouin and see the beautiful gardens and arboretum there. So just a wealth of choices.
And John, thank you for pronouncing all those French words. John took French in high school. I took Spanish. So please forgive me if I'm destroying the French language, which I am, but I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah. And me too. I'm sure I'm not getting it perfectly, so forgive us. We'll end the day in the city of Le Havre, which is a beautiful port city where the Seine River meets the ocean. And we'll spend the night there. And then the next day, we'll have the choice between spending a full day touring the Normandy beaches, which is a highlight for me. It's a bucket list item. I just can't wait to see the Normandy beaches.
Yes.
And we'll see Omaha Beach and the U.S. Cemetery. And this is a picture of Arromanches, where they built the artificial harbors that the Allies used to bring supplies on board after the initial waves of the invasion. And you can see some of the mulberries there still floating in the harbor.
Oh, wow.
Just an amazing experience. So I can't wait.
Yeah, this is a bucket list for both John and I. We love our country. We're so grateful to the greatest generation. And I know you are too. What they did as young people, I mean, pretty much the ages of our sons and maybe your sons too, landing on those beaches. We're going to go to Omaha Beach. We're going to go to the cemetery. We're going to see the flag raising ceremony, either the flag raising their flag. This flag ceremony, and to be there. And, it wasn't just young men who landed on those beaches. It was also women. I don't know if you knew that, but on D-Day, as they were coming across, and the boats were so close, they were trying not to like run into each other. That's how close they were. But they could see the faces on the people on the other boat. You could see each other. They were that close. And the hospital ships with the nurses and the doctors, these are 20, 25-year-old nurses and the doctors and all that were right there coming ashore with the soldiers and waving at them, knowing that something was about to happen and not all of them would make it that day. But the history there, we want to go. And we know that, the first person stories of the people who lived there and our veterans, our World War II veterans, there's not very many left. And same thing in these smaller French towns. The older generation, they're almost gone. So we want to go right now, while we can still hear those first-person accounts of what it was like there and hear it from the historians themselves. So we're very blessed and very honored to do this.
Yeah, we can't wait. But if that's not your cup of tea, you can instead visit Honfleur, which is a beautiful picturesque town on the coast of France. And it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site as well. So you can do touring and sightseeing there instead.
I think they're going to take us all to a small outdoor market, and we're going to sample some of the foods and the wines and meet some of the people. So that's going to be a really fun tour too.
All right. So the next day ends our 7-day Seine River Cruise. So if you are not continuing, you would disembark from the ship and return to Paris and be on your way back to the States or wherever. But since Jackie and I, since we're already in France and want to see more things while we're there, we're going to continue on the AmaWaterways land extension program, the 4-night program to Brittany, where we'll spend 3 nights in Saint-Malo and then the 1 night in Paris near the airport. So in that case, if you were joining us, we would board our coach to head to Saint-Malo. And on the way, we would stop at Fougères, a Middle Eastern city that has an amazing fortress that has 13 turrets. So it'll be fun to explore that and learn about the history there as we continue on to Saint-Malo for our 3-night stay.
Yes, and Saint-Malo is super cool. It is a walled city, a medieval walled city, so very, very kept intact, and it's really known for their pirates. So if anybody in your family is into pirates, we're going to find out about that. So imagine this. It's the middle of the 12th century, and the local bishop said that Saint-Malo would be an asylum town. So for several centuries, it had the reputation as a safe haven for, and this is right out of the book, wrong'uns and rogues. So people who have done wrong and rogues. So the pirates operating under the protection of the King of France back in the day. So during the 17th and 18th centuries, working under the letters of the Marquis from the King, who, by the way, kind of shared the booty with the pirates. So he kind of, he got half the goods that they got. The corsairs of Saint-Malo roved the seas. They terrified merchant ships, unfortunate enough to share their sea lanes, and took whatever they wanted from the English, the Dutch, the Spanish, and the Portuguese ships. So the pirates of Saint-Malo, they're very famous, they were pretty wild and dangerous, but they left their mayhem at the sea. Back home in the outskirts of this walled town, they built fine country homes and lived the lives of country gentlemen. So we're going to see that medieval walled city, and then we're also going to see some of these country homes. So it's pretty cool. And then this is the awesome completion of our tour, Mont Saint-Michel. And this also is a bucket list for both John and I.
Right.
this magical island monastery, and it was literally an island, and they did it on purpose, right? Because the monks wanted to be separated from the people. So it's a medieval island monastery, and for centuries, the only way you could get there was either by boat or, during low tide, you could kind of walk across the mud flats. But they have since built a causeway, and you can see it there, so people can walk up to it. But it is phenomenally protected and looks exactly like it looked back in the day. And just a little fun fact, if you're kind of a Disney person or ever watch those Disney movies with your kids, the Disney Imagineers used Mount St. Michel as their inspiration for the castle in the movie Tangled. Remember that one about Rapunzel and she drops down her hair? So this was their inspiration for that. So that's just kind of a little fun fact.
Well, I can't wait. And we get to spend a full day at Mont Saint Michel. So we'll get a tour of the monastery and the surrounding village. And it's going to be amazing to see that in person.
So after that spectacular day, and that's our high point, then we're going to go back to Paris, stopping at the Chartres Cathedral on the way to our hotel. We'll stay at the hotel near Charles de Gaulle Airport. And then the next day we will fly home. So bidding farewell to this city of lights.
Yeah. And this is an overview of our journey. You can see, once again, we would depart from the United States on March 31st, arrive in Paris April 1st, have our private transfers to our 4-star hotel for one night, and then transfer to the ship to embark on April 2nd for a week-long journey down the Seine River and to Le Havre. And then we would disembark there on April 9th and fly home if you're not continuing with us, or if you are joining us, we would continue on our 4-night St. Malo tour, and that would end in Paris on April 13th. So we can depart at that point for the States or wherever you like to go. You can also see an overview of the pricing of the 3 parts of our trip. And again, keep in mind that AmaWaterways is an inclusive fare. So
you're going to know upfront what the entire cost of your vacation is going to be. You're not going to get that bill at the end of a cruise going, oh my gosh, did we really buy all this stuff? You're going to know upfront, and that's nice. And so again, compare, your credit card bill on the whole vacation versus this.
All right. And booking starts tomorrow for our Adventure Club members. The folks that receive emails from us weekly have the exclusive opportunity to book between tomorrow, September 17th, until Sunday, September 19th. And then it'll open to everyone on Monday, September 20th. And as Jackie said, we're keeping our group small. We're limiting it to a max of 20 people so that we can get to know each other and have a more intimate group. So we only have a limited number of spaces left. So if you're interested, please call us or email us so that we can give you the information and get you booked right away.
Yeah. So next steps, if you're interested, like John said, call or email us, and then we'll send you everything we've just talked about and the booking form to fill out, and then we can go from there. So we have time. Oh gosh, how much time? We've got just a couple of minutes for questions. So thank you for those of you who have written in questions. We so appreciate it. If we don't get to all of your questions, please email us or call us tomorrow, and we'll be happy to answer that. But let's go ahead, and this one I'm sure is on everybody's mind. So I'm going to tackle this one first. What about COVID? Certainly, we are all hoping and praying that COVID is going to be in our rear view mirror by next spring. But what if it isn't? Okay, I have 2 things to tell you. Number 1 is AmaWaterways has been cruising safely since summer of 2020. Yeah, you heard me right. They've been cruising in Europe since summer of 2020, not 21, 20. They have, so that gives them over 15 months or 12 months, 13, something like that. Anyway, a few months, a year, a little bit over a year of excellent safety and health protocols, because their people are not getting sick on their ships. So they have gone above and beyond for safety protocols, and they've been cruising just in Germany and just with German clients, but it's been working for them. And so that makes us feel really good. We're both in our 60s. I've got asthma. We got to be careful, right? They've also won an award for their safety and health protocols during COVID. And you can go on our YouTube channel, AdventureWays World Travel. Our YouTube channel, that's the name of it. John does all those gorgeous videos, and we have one of the AmaWaterways safety protocol videos. So you can see it for yourself, all that they're doing to keep us all safe. But everything falls apart. France is still in the middle of COVID next spring. They have to cancel the cruise. What happens then? Well, they've been giving out future cruise credits to people. So if they have to cancel, they'll give you a future cruise credit, and then we'll look at it from there. We are telling everybody, and we're doing the exact same thing, buy your travel insurance. Anytime we have a significant trip, not if we're just going to go visit our kids, but if we have a significant trip, we always buy travel insurance. We did before COVID, just because life happens. Something happens and suddenly you can't go. Something happens, you get sick on the ship, or you twist your ankle or whatever. Buy your travel insurance. It's wise. It's good stewardship. Okay, we got time for a couple more questions. Okay, here's a good one you might want to be interested about. Is air conditioning available in the staterooms? That is a really good question. And the reason it's a good question is because not all of the European river cruises have air conditioning. And if you have a hot day, that's kind of a problem. So on AmaWaterways, every single stateroom is equipped with their individual climate control. So, and you have the controls in your room. So if you want your room a little bit warmer or you want your room a little bit colder, you're in charge of that. Nobody else is.
And they also have separate air supply and exhaust. So you're not mixing air with other cabins, which is another safety feature for COVID.
Yeah, so that is one of their safety features. But if you're interested in those COVID protocols, go look at the video. We've got it on our Adventure Waits World Travel YouTube channel. Are all meals included? Now, John went over that, but I think it's worth saying again. Yes, all meals on board, including the chef's table, which is their specialty thing. The chef's table is super cool because the chef, you're in a separate room, and he literally comes out and talks to you about the food that they got. It's locally sourced. They got it right that day, how he's preparing it. He'll have you try different things. The wine sommelier is there doing the pairings. It's a really fun, intimate learning experience. And it's a very unique experience. And we'll be doing that together with the chef. All of that is included. Okay, so you're not paying extra for specialty dining like you do on some cruise ships. Is there an elevator on board? Good question. Good question. If mobility is an issue for you, can you go on a river cruise? Absolutely. Absolutely. Elevators are available on board all their vessels, reaching the 2 highest passenger decks, reception area, the restaurant, but it does not reach the lowest passenger deck or the sun deck. So if you need to use a wheelchair or you're in something like that, or mobility is an issue, let us know that, and we'll make sure that you get on one of the decks with the elevators, and then you're good. And getting on and off the ship is super easy because they put down the gangplank and you just go out. So that's pretty cool. Okay, here's a person after my own heart. What beverages are included on board? Sparkling wine and juices, of course, specialty coffees and tea at breakfast. Beer, soft drink, unlimited wines at lunch and dinner, and they have new selections every day. And remember, this is a wine cruise, so we're going to have our sommelier on deck, and he's going to be teaching us about the local wines, the history, the science, the art of wine making. So, even if you're not a drinker, it's just kind of interesting. It's interesting history. So all that's included. Every evening they have what they call a sip and sail cocktail party, and that's in the main area. And you have complimentary wine, beer, and spirits. Gourmet coffee, like I said, the tea and bottled water, that's 24/7. They come into your cabin every night and make sure that you have fresh bottled water in your room. So again, beverages are included, food's included, all of your excursions. You put your credit card away. You know upfront what you're going to pay, and you put your credit card away. I think, bicycles, because somebody really wanted to know about bicycles. Every ship has a limited number of bicycles and helmets available that you can use while the ship is docked. Okay, so you can't be riding around on the ship. Sorry about that. But you can swim, and you can do laps around the sun deck, which is a nice way to get some exercise, or go to the gym. They have a wellness coach on every ship that is going to be doing Pilates and yoga, and sometimes like a ballroom dancing or a Latin dance class. Again, all that's included. It's just fun. Most sailings also offer a choice of bicycle-led excursions with a tour guide, and these can be reserved once you're on board. I hope if you're physically able, take advantage of that. We're definitely going to do this. We're going to we're going to ride through the vineyards, ride past the chateaus. That's just a super cool experience. So take advantage of that and take one of those bike tours if you can. That'll be a lot of fun.
All right, thanks. Well, that's all the time we had, everybody. We hope you can join us on this amazing journey, and we just can't wait.
Yes. Thank you so much for giving us your time. And we want to leave you now with this wonderful, again, it's just a 1-minute video, but we're going to say bye-bye for now until our next adventure.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Enhance your best self and discover the world along Europe's most legendary rivers. Enjoy the luxury of space and breathtaking views as you journey through grand European capitals and venture beyond the beaten path. Take all the time you need to recharge or press on to see it all. Whether you wish to extend your healthy lifestyle on board or simply want to try something new so you can indulge without regrets, it's all included in your unforgettable experience. Reset, recharge, and river cruise with AmaWaterways.